education, my degree, a couple honors, and GPA since I was a fresh graduate. Um, in addition, underneath that, I listed the languages along with the experience, like I said in the previous slide. Just call out in case there was a specific programming need. They would know whether or not I had the skill. If they were looking for somebody with a couple of years of Java experience, I would have it. If they're looking for somebody with several years of C++, well, then maybe that wouldn't fit for me. Listed out the relevant coursework. This was mostly the computer science classes I was taking, but some of the math classes as well, just to prove that I was able to do 3D calculations and algorithm writing if need be. So then under experience, you'll see the company I worked at just prior to this was Dow Jones. Not really game specific, but it was a big name. Proved that I was professional and that I knew how to show up on time, come to work prepared, and work in a complex environment. Before that, I had actually worked at Majesco as a tester for a couple months. You'll see I listed out all the different titles that I worked on. It's a good idea to list out your credits because it's a great conversation starter. Can't tell you how many times I've had people ask me about what games I worked on in the past, and it's really helped because you never know what games other people play, or they know who friends of theirs have worked on. So it can be a conversation starter. It can be a good way to network. It's a good way to just keep track so you can toot your own horn at the end of the day. And lastly, there's an internship that I had at Rutgers. Also not game specific, but I was doing 3D modeling related work. So it proved that I had a good understanding of 3D graphics and the concepts related to that. And so this is kind of the meat of my resume, the student projects and games that I did outside of the class. You'll see this blackjack game. I actually created that after graduating. Really simple front-end web-based game whereby you play a game of blackjack. In addition, I also wrote an Othello game. This is an interesting project in that it kind of mirrors the programming option number 2 or project option number 2 that you guys have. I was tasked with creating a backend for my AI class, and this would basically generate an AI. It was to create an AI that would try and find the best possible move for itself. Rather than just leave it at that, I created a front end for it so I could play against my own AI. And so the AI was designed to search the game state of the board for several moves in the future. I think it was like 5 for each player, using the best first heuristic, actually assuming that I would make all the best possible moves. The computer was quite an adversary opponent, and more likely than not actually beat me. So it was a fun project. Below that, I have some of the honors that I had while at Rutgers. Obviously if I had something more game specific, I would list that there. However, I didn't. For you guys, if you won some sort of local game competition, I would definitely put that in there. Then below this, I have kind of just a laundry list of skills, all sorts of different things. Troubleshooting, database work. Laundry list of concepts that I'm familiar with related to 3D graphics and game development. And let's see. There at the bottom, you'll notice that I list out all the games that I beta tested. Um, Once again, just to show that I do have an interest in games. So, that's something that's easy to add, and, takes up a little bit of space on your resume, but shows that you guys have interest in doing games professionally. Yeah, I mean, so if you guys have student projects, I would definitely include those in your resume as well. Anything that's related, if you guys are doing like a mod project, that's great. But anything that could help fill out your tool set. So back to the presentation. So just some general best practices. You should definitely include a cover letter when applying for a job. It helps you clearly state what job you're trying to apply for. Often companies will have multiple positions open at the same time. It also allows you to highlight your key selling points. Um, the format I usually choose is an opening paragraph followed by a bulleted list of items that I want to bring up. The teams that I've led, the budgets of the projects I've worked on, so on and so forth. Um, you know, so assume that you got the interview. Um, you answered all the questions correctly, and they really love you. You go, you're really excited. You drive on home, and your next step should definitely be to send them a thank you letter, or even better, or more accepted now, is a thank you email. Let them know that you really appreciate the fact that they took time out of their day, and if you had any follow-up questions, this would be the appropriate way of asking them. Next, you should always have a list of recommendations handy in case it's asked. I've never had this happen to me, but I do know that for other positions that we have hired for at different companies, this has been the case. This is just somebody that can vouch for you and say that you're capable. You're a capable employee, and that you're not going to screw the employer over. So you should have a couple of these. Definitely in the beginning, when you're first getting hired, this is an issue because you don't really have a previous manager that I can go and call up and double check on. So if you have jobs outside of the game industry, that's a great way of doing this, a great source of this. Otherwise, you guys can have classmates, professors, friends, people that you would feel comfortable having an interview or talk to. So another good thing to do would be to actually let these people, that your recommenders, know that you are interviewing. First off, they may have a position open at their company that you could fill. Secondly, you don't want to have them, have the interviewer just call these guys out of the blue and then not remember who you are, or alternatively, them say something badly about you. These should be people that you trust to give you a good recommendation. Also, because of the game industry, the nature of it, you should double check that these people aren't in the middle of a crunch. I mean, you don't want somebody picking up the phone and because they're in a bad mood from working so much that they give you a bad recommendation. I mean, this is really a way in which you can shine, and so you should do everything possible to make sure that you do. And just following up on that, when you do go to the interview, make sure you arrive on time, and probably a few minutes earlier. Dress appropriately. If you think you might be underdressed,